Hey, what's up, podcast peeps? Glad to have you here. You never know when inspiration might strike for a topic here on Daily Scone. It's 11:18 p.m. Saturday night. I'm watching Oregon State LSU regional baseball. LSU is just absolutely playing a terrible baseball game. They're losing 10-1 in the fifth. It's dreadful. They've wasted opportunities offensively, and Zach Hess wasn't very good starting the game tonight for the Tigers. Nonetheless, this isn't a sports podcast, but something happened on the broadcast, so I wanted to talk about it, and so I figured, hell, I'm not waiting until Monday on my radio show. I'll do this on Daily Scone. So the ESPN broadcast, the color analyst on this broadcast is JT Snow. Played a lot of years in the big leagues, mostly with San Francisco. Maybe all of it was, not all of it, most of it was San Francisco. Well, at Oregon State, apparently they have this party deck down the left field line. It's general admission, and people can go stand in the general admission and, watch the game down there. And they're like, hey, this is a terrible game. It's not compelling at all. JT, go down to the party deck and do a half inning or a full inning from the party deck. And it was a terrible 10 minutes of television. It was an awkward delivery and execution. And this isn't just complete and total bitterness because LSU is getting just pistol whipped right now. It's just very poorly done. The shots weren't great, but even if they were, the execution wasn't good. You mostly had JT Snow talking to fans who you couldn't hear on his headset mic. So he's having conversations that the television audience can only hear one way. He's giving birthday shout-outs to some kid's mom who paid $1 for his popcorn. But the whole point is, Twitter is kind of reacting to this, and rightfully so. It's a very, very bad 10 minutes of television. But I don't think... But I don't want to crush it completely because I think there's a great lesson here. Sometimes some of the best ideas never come to light because no one ever takes a risk. And I think it's so important in broadcasts to take a risk. And one of my favorite movies ever is The Big Lebowski. And at the end of the movie, The Big Lebowski, he's talking to the stranger at the bar, and he's like, hey man, strikes and gutters. And I say that all the time on my show, but I believe it. It's like you have ideas and you try to execute them as best as you can. And sometimes they hit and it's awesome. And sometimes it's a gutter ball and it stinks. And this was a gutter ball, but I respect the fact that they tried. I'll give you some examples of things that we've done on the radio show that have gone both ways. I'm just thinking recently, Ross Dellinger, who's now with Sports Illustrated, when he was with The Advocate in Baton Rouge, he did an extensive piece on Les Miles, the now former LSU football coach, trying his hand at acting. So I was like, oh man, we got an opportunity here. So we work out a time with Les to come on the show, and our idea is to get Les to reenact a famous scene. And so Ryan Terrio was in studio. We had them reenact the courtroom scene from A Few Good Men, the You Can't Handle the Truth scene, very famous scene. And so Les was Colonel Jessup, and he nailed it. Was so perfectly Les, and he hit it out the park. So I mean, that's one of those things that you took a risk. I mean, it could have bombed completely, but Les was open to it. It worked out well. It was memorable, and it was fun. So you took a risk, and it paid off. The flip side of that is sometimes, like, you take a risk and it bombs, it craters, it doesn't work. And what happened here with JT Snow is an example. But if you're not willing to take the risk, sometimes you'll never get that end. I'm just thinking in my head, like a couple years back, and I always think, man, I love to do things that are memorable. That a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, people will say, oh, I remember that. Because if you just think of how much media you consume, from the moment you wake up, you are bombarded, you are inundated with people fighting for your attention. If it's via television or radio or billboards or the internet on your phone. Everyone wants to push notifications to your phone. Click this link. Go here. It's like it is so hard because of how much media we all consume to do something that is truly memorable. And if you can find a way to do something that people will remember and have an impact, that's fantastic. I remember a few years back, Jacques Doucet, who's TV guy from WAFB in Baton Rouge. Most of you probably, if you're listening to this, you're familiar with Baton Rouge television and with Jacques. But for years and years and years, at the LSU indoor football facility, they have these lights that buzz, like literally, like it just bzzz. When you walk in the building, whenever the lights are hot, they buzz. And so there were parody accounts like LSU Indoor Lights, and it was a bee and all different types of stuff. Well, Jacques did a report on the lights one day, and it was all tongue in cheek. It was fun, talking about just the buzzing, because anybody that's ever watched any interview with an LSU coach or player over the last 15 years from that indoor facility, you've noticed an audible buzzing sound during that interview. And people have always asked, well, what's the buzzing sound? So Jacques did a very fun 90-second, 2-minute piece on the evening news on the indoor lights and the buzzing sound. And it was fantastic. I mean, but he took a chance putting that on the evening news. And it could have completely bombed. It could have not worked, but it did. So I guess I look at it and go, man, look, in any form, in any form of media, there are strikes and gutters. But you'll never roll a strike if you don't take the chance. So if you have an idea for something creative, like, go for it. But just do your best to plan the execution, because it's more likely to hit if you've planned out the execution better than if you're just saying, hey, let's on a whim try something. And with LSU just hitting to another double play, this is probably enough for this edition of Daily Scone. My point is, bottom line, don't be afraid to take risks in media. If you have an idea for something creative, a column, a bit, a radio bit, a television news story, whatever it may be, even on a broadcast where you send the color analyst down to the left field platform and tell them to go hang out at the party deck, that crashed and burned. But you know what? I respect the fact that they took the risk. So don't be afraid to take a risk. All right, y'all subscribe to this this podcast. I appreciate you for being here as always. Again, hit the subscribe button however you're listening. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes or whatever platform. That helps us tremendously. I appreciate you greatly. And until next time, this is Daily Scone.